All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Odyssey. So before I jump into today's training, which is probably my favorite one, and for all of you that have been around in the Archangel universe for a bit, I've never actually done this training before, which is why I'm so happy and excited and pumped. After today's session, so starting next week on these coaching calls, we're going to be doing less, let's say, less teaching and training and more implementation. So I want to really ramp up your hand raisers and your love letters. And we'll be doing what I call love seeding, which is like supporting each of you as much as possible during the calls, and then even more in between the calls in Archangel Campus. So I've started editing and tweaking and asking questions in Campus. We'll keep those conversations going. A lot of you have done some awesome work so far. And I also want to address and support everyone here who may be at a point where you're entering what I would call like the dark cave. So let me explain this dark cave, because I'm a big hero's journey fan. And there's a point on your hero's journey where you enter the darkness and you have to confront and face the dragon or fears or whatever it is, right? And for some of you, that might be things like, I'm behind. I haven't done the work yet. There's other people who are ahead of me. I'm still confused. I don't have clarity on what I want to do. All that kind of stuff, that's going to bubble up. And then you might attach meaning to those things, whatever that meaning is for you. Like in my past, it like something around I'm not good enough, or I don't belong, or any of that kind of stuff. And I'm sharing this because for maybe the first time ever, for any of you that feel that way, I want you to know that you are no longer alone and there's nothing wrong with you. We all go through these things. And I actually think you have to go through that thing to get to the other side, to get out of the cave, and to have a relationship with it, so that you realize, oh, wait, maybe I'm not, and insert word about yourself. And the thing about this is those voices that you sometimes hear in your head aren't yours. It's voices from your past. It's maybe parents or adults from when you were a kid, or friends when you were a kid, or any of this kind of stuff. And it gets ingrained in there. And I can promise there's another voice. And that other voice may currently be whispering instead of shouting, where the you're not good enough voice is shouting and this one is whispering, but the whispering one is saying, no, you got this. And you know what? This is the time when you're actually going to help people, and you're here for a higher calling, and you're here for purpose. And there's more to this for you. And this is all part of your training. When I had this paradigm shift for myself, that any, excuse my language, any shitty things I was going through is actually training for my greater self, that it wasn't happening to me, it was happening for me. That changed my life. And now whenever I get into something that feels like that, I say, thank you. I have gratitude. I'm like, thank you for this scenario, because you're actually making me a better version of me. And that whisper to me is your future self saying, I already know the future. You're going to be awesome. Just trust me, and I'll guide you along the way. And we all have that, and we all have that capability. So if you're feeling tension or anxiety or fear or shame or guilt or any of that kind of stuff, that maybe, hey, I haven't done enough of my work, or I'm still confused, or whatever that is, you are welcome here. We love you and we've got you. And maybe for the first time ever, you don't have to feel that shit, because I want all of you to win. And not because it's about you, it's because it's who you're going to help in the future. You making progress, you having momentum in this group allows you to help other people. And imagine all of us here helping hundreds and thousands of people, that collective holy shit that's going to happen from that. So that's why we're here. And we've all got you. So thank you for being here. Just showing up, you've already won. So thank you. And a quick shout out. So where's Martin? Martin, you here? There you are. Can you unmute? Martin reached out today and he's like, there's someone in Odyssey that we have to shout out. So can you shout him out?
Let me just make sure that. Sorry, I'm having an audio issue.
No, you're here. You're good. Does your mic work?
Sorry about that.
Well,
Must have an audio issue. I just wanted to give a personal shout out on behalf of myself and everyone here to David for being extremely engaged in campus and offering incredible support to all of not only the love letters, but every post that's been made since the start of Odyssey. You know, we are a community, and that is the benefit of joining a program like this. And David, I just felt has gone above and beyond in supporting everyone. And it just wanted to say it doesn't go unnoticed, and we're very grateful. So thanks, David.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
love it. Thank you, David. You're awesome. Like, even watching your support of everyone has been game changing. So I appreciate you very much. All right, I want to dive into today's fun. Oh man, I can't wait. Let me do this and this. So today's session is called the Kryptonite. And we're going to talk about how to support your potential dream clients through any obstacles or resistance or fears of committing to their bigger future, right? So they may run into some of these obstacles that prevent them from saying yes to you or prevent them from saying I'm in. And I call these things their kryptonite. And it could be one of three categories. One is objections. So if, you know, as an entrepreneur, you understand the concept of sales or selling. And when you're in an enrollment type of conversation, whether it's in person, on the phone, or in email, you may bump into someone's objections. The other one's hesitations. So things that make them pause or feel like they may not be able to move forward. And then fears that are deeper. They may not even be conscious of these things, but some kind of limiting belief or a doubt or a what if or lack of confidence. All these kinds of things can be bubbling up for them in that moment, right? So on your journeys, all of you, you've probably experienced this both as the buyer and the seller in different scenarios. And as their guide, even before they work with you, you can help them transform. And this is how I want to start today, because when I discovered this for myself, it was game changing. And I call this thing the two transformations. So here's what this is. Whenever someone joins your program and they become a success story or a transformation story, they've actually gone through two transformations, not just one. So the first one is obvious. It's the thing they paid you for. So whatever your promise is, whatever the outcome is, that is the conscious transformation. But there's another one. The second one, and it to me is just as important, is their commitment. When they say I'm in, when they pay you, when they sign up, when they register, they've made a commitment and decision that supports their growth. It supports their bigger future. And the commitment is its own transformation. When you commit to something, you've made a decision that impacts the direction of your future. And to me, the commitment creates an identity shift because they're telling themselves they are the person who can make the dream come true. They've made a decision. You've already helped them transform just by having them say yes to working with you. And they are making an investment into their best asset, which is themselves. I've had people throughout my life say, you know, I have some money, what should I invest in? Or what are the best kinds of investments? And for me, and this is especially when I was in the real estate space. And I said, I'm biased, but the best investment is myself. And at the time I would say the second best thing is real estate, right? So the idea is that they are making an investment into their growth, into their bigger future. Now, does anyone here know the history or the etymology of the word decision? So etymology means the history of a word or where the word comes from. And when I learned this one, it blew me away too. Yeah, to cut. So it's from the same Latin word. So think of decide, like to make a decision is to decide. It comes from the cide. And Kevin's here. I love that because we learned Latin in grade 10. It comes from the Latin word cide, which means to cut or to kill. And it's the same root of words like homicide, suicide, decide. What you're actually doing when you're making a decision is you're cutting off or you're killing away all other opportunities or all other choices. You're making the one choice on the one path. And each of you supporting your clients in making a decision towards their bigger future is a gift. So I want you to remember that going into this. And think of what a gift you'll be giving them, not only through their own kryptonite, but in all areas of their life. Because if they make a commitment and they follow through and they get a transformation, what does that tell them about themselves? This is the amazing work we get to do. It's so much fun. And you're creating buyer safety for them, which increases their confidence, and that creates seller safety for you, which increases your confidence. And this awesome positive cycle happens. So let's go through some of the most common objections and what to say. And before I do, since all of you have been in some kind of scenario where you were buying something or you were selling something, what do you think the most common sales objections are? Can you share them in the chat? So what are the most, whoa, shoot. Let's see here. Money too expensive, time and money, can't afford it, not the right timing. Money and time seem to be the biggest one so far. Commitment won't work for me. Gita, that's awesome. I have to ask my husband, right? I don't need it. Money, trust, doubts, significant other. I'll do this later. These are all awesome. Okay. So anyone have, I will share my suggestion when someone says too expensive or something around money. Does anyone here have something that they've mentioned or used in the past? And if not, that's totally cool. I'll share. Man, these are great. So what will it cost you if you don't do it? If we could make the money work, would you proceed? What will it cost you if you don't do it as compared to what? Too expensive. If the money wasn't an issue, would you say yes? Yeah, so these are awesome sales strategies, which I love. And one way to address the it's too expensive objection that I love personally is to say this. First, to agree and to empathize, right? To say, you know what, you're right. This is expensive. And I can see that this is a lot for you. And that's why I know you're going to succeed. Because for some of my clients, this isn't a lot of money to them. And when something's not a lot of money to someone, they're not as invested. But every time someone feels like it's a lot, it's expensive, and they commit, they're the ones who take the best action because there's a lot in it for them. And that's why I know you're going to win with this. And to me, that's my favorite way of addressing someone who feels like it's too expensive. It's in that expense, it's in that investment that they're going to follow through because it's not a small amount of money. And you can also, if you wanted to, share that. Now, this is, again, my experience, but I feel like you all resonate with this. If something is inexpensive, you don't care about it as much. You may not even follow through. If you're paying for a $3,000 program that creates a transformation, you know, you're going to be all in. If you're paying $30 for a book that talks about that same transformation, you may not even open the book, right? So the more invested you are, the more invested you are. I'll let Jenna, do you want to share your experience?
Yeah, I just enrolled a new client, and he's worked with several people and he has all these doubts. And I said, okay, that's fine. But based on our first call, I can help you. Like, I do this, I do that, I do that. And he's like, oh, I just can't justify $12.50 a month for 2 sessions and da, 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 da. And I'm like, I charge for results and I charge for my energy. So this is the package and you don't have to buy it. And it wasn't confrontational. I was just like, you don't have to buy this, but I'm inviting you to do so. And I know I can help you. So it was just, I guess, years of knowing I can do it add a lot to the equation as well. But I think saying you don't have to buy this is a whole other flip in their mind of like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything, but I'm inviting you.
I love that. I love that energy where you're not like a lot of people, when they teach this kind of concept, they teach scarcity and pressure and fear. If you don't do this right now, you're going to die. And I can't stand that. Like, I actually love the energy of, hey, I love analogies. So the analogy of, the train is kind of leaving the station. This is happening, especially if it's a group thing. This is happening. People are there. I would love for you to join us. You don't have to join. And if you do, here's what's going to happen. Love that.
He was very excited to get started. Like, his whole energy changed and his trust in me, because I wasn't trying to sell him or make him do anything, completely changed as well. So anyway, if that helps anybody.
One of the things that's so important, and thank you, Jenna, about all of this is that enrollment and sales is a transfer of belief. Right? So one of the challenges people may have is that they don't believe that they can achieve the outcome. And as their guide, if you're doing the work properly and you're qualifying people, they can. You have the belief and you are transferring that belief through trust. Everything we're doing, everything I've even talked about since the beginning, is all about building and deepening relationships. And that's why we're here. Yeah, Sophie?
Sorry, I feel like I'm barging my hand up, but I just wanted to share and get your opinion. When I get to that point in the conversation where somebody said, either it's too expensive or this is not now, I switch the conversation to, okay, that's great. Let me tell you a couple of things you can do now in the short term that really can make a difference. And then I give them 2 or 3 pieces of advice that they can follow. What do you think of that?
Well, you want the distinction or clarity of if it's actually an issue, because half the time we come up with excuses, and too expensive is more of an excuse than an actual objection or an actual issue. And there's an underlying fear underneath that of, well, I don't want to waste money. I've tried things in the past and I didn't follow through and I'm a loser and I don't want to do this again because what if I waste this money again? And you're battling all of that, or they are, and you want to support them through that. And I think finding ways to help people through that darkness, just how I talked about the dark cave at the beginning of this session, we all have that, right? And one of my coaches years ago said something to me that blew me away, because I, at the time, was, this is at the beginning of Archangel, and I had an event and I wanted to sell tickets to an event. And I believe there were $3,000 for the ticket. And so it's not like an inexpensive ticket, but I was speaking to someone who said, you know what, I can't afford it. And I said, okay, cool. And I took it just at surface level. And then literally 2 days later, she posted on Facebook, hey, I just joined this program for $20,000. And I was like, what the? And I got frustrated and angry. And I was telling this mentor of mine, and he said, people will do whatever it takes to pay for what they want. And I had to hear that 18 times for it to really make sense, right? So it's not necessarily about money. It's not about affordability. Sometimes it totally is, and that's fine. But sometimes it's about resonance and the person feeling clear that you are their guide and you can help them and they're safe with you. And once they feel safer with you than without you, that's when the shift happens. And that's what you want to get to. And sometimes there's a nurturing and a trust development that has to happen first. So if they're giving you an excuse or an objection or hesitation, you want to support them and transfer that confidence to them. So thank you. The next one is this. And the time one can be used in a bunch of different ways. So meaning I can't commit right now because I literally don't have the time in my schedule, or I'm doing this other thing. I want it to finish first and then I'll start this thing. Or, fill in the blank. Like for all of you, what have you heard as a time objection? Can you want to share in the chat? Yeah, David, I don't think I can commit to 6 months. Too much on my plate right now. Yeah, too busy, not the right time. So I think when this happens, there's truth to it, and we're all busy. And when someone says they want to wait, like there's going to be people who maybe this is their excuse not to do it, or they just don't want to, but maybe they're actually super interested. But they feel like I don't want to invest now if I can't follow through, if I can't get it all done, or whatever that looks like. And in my experience, delaying means that they're never actually going to do it. It's to me, and maybe I could be wrong, and maybe all of you can share your wisdom with me, but people have a weird relationship with how time works. And they think about if they'll push things off into the future, thinking, hey, I'll start this in 6 months, but then 6 months from now, or whenever the date is, like, it's the same with this kind of thing. It's the same with nutrition. Like I'll start my diet on this day, or all these kinds of things. They want to push it off into the future. And there's almost a fear of committing to now. And to me, this is more of an entrepreneurial lesson. Your priorities are in your calendar. If something is actually important for you, you'll make space for it. And as their guide, no matter what industry you're in or what you do, to support people to say, like, it is going to be hard for you right now. Like I think agreement at the beginning is important to create that alignment and resonance. Yeah, I agree with you. It's probably going to be challenging because of your busyness and what's going on. And yet, if we can help you do the work anyway and get the result anyway, you're going to be so far ahead. And, getting through this hardness now, you're investing in a better future versus pushing it away and piling things up in the future where your stress compounds until you burn out. And I want to help you avoid that. And maybe making this decision now might be a little bit challenging from the time perspective, but let's work on freeing up your time and getting them back into the present so they're not pushing things off to the future. I think, that's why I believe we're all guides. They're on their hero's journey or heroine's journey. We are their guide on that journey, and we want to support them. And the hardest thing is taking off. The hardest thing is starting. The analogy I love, some of you have heard me say this, is when NASA or I don't know, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos launch a rocket now into space, typically 80% of the fuel is used for takeoff to get out of the atmosphere, because that's where all the resistance and friction is. Once you're in space, you don't need that much fuel. There's not much resistance. And that's just, to me, it's the same with starting anything. It's the first domino that has to fall that needs the most energy. But once you support someone through that decision, and that's why I say that the commitment is the gift, everything becomes easier, and then they get into momentum. How about this isn't for me? Have any of you heard something like this? So I don't think this is right for me. I'm not sure this will work for me. Any of these kinds of things. The way I would address this is what I call co-creation. So let's say and again, keep in mind, all of this is happening through email or DMs. I would suggest you do face-to-face to get that experience, especially if you're an introvert and shy like me. It'll build up your communication muscle, but this can all be happening through email. And if someone says, I'm not sure if this is for me, my response would be, okay, so you know enough about what I'm doing or what this program is. Imagine I was a magician, or whatever word you want to use. I could wave a magic wand and make the perfect program for you. What would that look like? And how is it different from what is in front of you right now? And have them share their version of a dream come true program. And then you can make the decision, is this something I can incorporate into what I'm doing? Or maybe their dream come true is your program, you just haven't communicated that clearly. And to me, that's the best way to handle the it's not for me concept. You're also going to get valuable data about your program, because if enough people say, well, I would really want to talk about this thing over here, then imagine you incorporate this thing over here into your program, and all of a sudden you have something even more valuable because it's co-created. Now, there's another thing that happens. And by the way, thank you for everything shared in the chat today. So much awesome data. I think, Martin, if you remind me, we'll share a text file of the chat with the replay so that everyone has access to everything being shared. There will be a point, especially if you're doing this kind of thing through email or DMs, where this happens. For those of you who don't get my joke, this is a ghost, and the person may ghost you, which means they stop responding to your messages. Then what do? Well, I'm going to teach you how to become what I call a Ghostbuster. Thank you very much. Hope you like that. The first technique or strategy for ghost busting is my favorite thing ever. It's first name ? So imagine if they ghosted you, that means the last response was from you, meaning you've been chatting back and forth, and then you sent them a question, or maybe you sent them the love letter, or you answered a question, but you were the last person to respond. They haven't responded back. This works so well. It's kind of awesome and crazy. You reply again with just first name ? So imagine, Jenna, you and I were chatting, and I sent you an email back, and then I don't hear from you. My next message will be Jenna, first name ? And that's it. So it works awesome in DMs. It works awesome in email. And it's usually like a little, like you don't have to say anything else. It's a nudge to remind them that you're waiting on them for their response. Awesome ghost busting technique. Number 2, which is the 9-word email. Many of you have heard me talk about this. The structure is very simple. Are you still interested in, and then whatever the promise is. So, are you still interested in Archangel Odyssey? Are you still interested in my program? Are you still interested in losing 20 pounds? Are you still interested in whatever it is? ? And that's it. That's the whole email. You don't have to give other details. You don't have to say anything else. The third Ghostbuster technique is my train leaving the station analogy. Now, you're not going to talk about trains or stations, but what you're going to say is, so you would respond again saying, hi, Sophie, just wanted to remind you, our program starts on this date. Would you like to join us? So you're nudging them with the fact that there's a start date and that timing is a priority. The fourth ghost busting technique is what I call be our next story. So one of the things I love doing in this circumstance, so let's say someone hasn't responded, I would send them a response with a story of someone who's already gone through the thing, saying, Martin, I want you to, here's Lisa's story. Lisa was in this thing. Here's the outcome. I would love for you to be our next story. Would you like to join us? And notice, by the way, I'm always ending with a with an open loop, meaning I'm ending with a question that they have to respond to. Would you like to join us? Are you still interested? The intention is to make an open loop that they have to close by responding. And yes, you can use this for a dating app. That's awesome, Jenna. And finally, you can also use this one. I'm guessing you haven't made a decision yet. The way this phrase is worded is to solicit a response. And by saying I'm guessing means you're not 100% sure. You want them to confirm. And what will most likely happen is they'll respond with an objection or a question, or they'll respond with I'm in, and maybe they just got busy. Right? So you never want to assume anything, especially if they haven't responded. Like maybe, I don't know, they went on vacation, or maybe they got sick, or maybe a weird crisis happened in their life and they just hadn't had a chance, or maybe they literally forgot. So instead of assuming, just respond like this and see how they respond back. So last thing before we get into a bit of Q&A, when you start to hear what their objections could be, try to handle them in advance so that they don't even come up. And what I mean by that is, let's say one of the objections is time, like I don't have the time to commit to this, or the question might be, how much time do I need to commit to this? And let's say your answer is always the same, like 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, whatever that is. If you put that into the love letter to actually say, your time commitment is this, you handle the objection before it even comes up. And if you start to see a pattern in questions or objections, by addressing them in advance, you get rid of them before they actually happen. So what's been most useful so far? What is your favorite thing from today's conversation? Let me know in the chat. My favorite thing so far, by the way, today is all of the awesome chats and all of your amazing feedback on how to deal with objections. Becoming a Ghostbuster. Thank you, Joanne. David, can you share what you just wrote here?
Yeah, and I've heard this before. It's, there's something that says you have to hear something like 7 times before it actually clicks in your head. But when you were talking about calendar and putting it on your calendar, and I threw it in the comment earlier, I'm like, when I'm working with my clients, I talk about, when they say, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I'm too busy, I talk about email, action list, and calendar, and get out of your email and into your calendar. And I do this like it's rote, it just comes out. And all of a sudden, when you said it, was like, when somebody says, man, I don't have time. I mean, I just had somebody say, I don't think I can make this commitment. I'm like, why don't I do this exact same thing and say, let's talk about your calendar, right? So, so thank you. I needed that reminder, I think.
Sure. Love it. Thank you. Ronnie? Ronnie there? Okay, we'll get back to Ronnie in a second. Joanne?
Hi, Gio and everybody. So I'm wondering, it's like, it feels like I have a massive block or a fear or something. I always manage to build great rapport with people having these conversations, but I never quite steered in the direction of the sale. And it's like, so I'm wondering, how do I transition from sending the love letter, the reply, to actually having this conversation, especially face to face?
Okay, so that's 2 things, because the way this is all designed is that there is no face-to-face. You don't have to do face-to-face. I recommend you do it anyways for each of you to practice it and to get comfortable with it. So let's start with email. For email should be simple. It's the dream conversation. Then you say, okay, cool. Here's here's my link to the program. And then you wait for the response. And the response may be I'm in, or questions, or the ghost. And then you know how to follow up in either kind of. So if they say I'm in, perfect, here's how to sign up. If they have questions, answer the question. And always, by the way, this is important. If a question comes in, answer the question and end that with an open loop, or like, would you like to join us? So they might say, what time are the calls? Or how do I know this is for me? Or whatever the question is, you answer the question as a response. And then, would you like to join us? And then they're going to either say I'm in, or another question, and you just kind of keep going, or they go. So there's only 3 options. And now you know how to deal with all 3. If you are, so Matt,
Yes.
just for fun, let's say it's face-to-face. Where's the part where you feel like it's not happening for you? Just asking for the sale kind of thing? Or is it?
Yeah, I think, yeah, especially asking for the sale. That is like my whole stomach just goes into a knot completely.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, and that happens to a lot of people in that scenario, because you're probably shining the spotlight on you. And to me, that's an analogy, but I like to turn it around and make it all about them. And the transition that makes it easy is to ask them a bunch of questions. So you are interviewing them. And then you say, okay, let's switch roles. Now you interview me. Ask me whatever questions you want, and you take them through how it works. And then you don't mention, and then you can say, what other questions do you have? Eventually, they're going to say,
okay.
how much is this? And it's usually a money thing that people are, right? And this program is this. It has to be a statement. This program is
Yes.
is $3,000. Would you like to join us? Same, you can do it in email, or you could do it in person. And then, by the way, one thing I learned 20 years ago when I was doing door-to-door sales, the second you make the invitation, you stop talking. Do not, they have to be the next person to speak.
That's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I used to have this too, right? But so, blah, 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 it's $3,000. Would you like to join us? And then you may have the feeling of giving more info or talking more, but you literally, and this is the discomfort at first. And then it's the beautiful pause. It's like, I'll just wait. So you imagine it's this email going back and forth, just in person. Do not say another word. It's like, unless you hear them again, unless they respond to you or whatever it is, but it's best to pause and wait.
Yes.
Can I suggest a very small comfort exercise that I learned from Noah Kagan originally? It's just to get comfortable with asking for something. The next time you go to buy a coffee, right before you're about to purchase, just ask for 25% off. It's such a small amount. Your coffee will be, depending on what you get from Starbucks, but will be $2 to $5. Ask just out of the blue, may I please have 25% off? And smile and pause, and don't give any reason why. And just the act of asking an uncomfortable question and learning how to use the silence is an amazing skill to develop. You're probably going to get the answer no, but that's okay. Something to try.
Yes. Great. I will try that. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to grow down great with the Irish.
Well,
but I will definitely try it.
I saw a video once, or actually, I think I've seen this same analogy a couple of times, and excuse the, I guess, crudeness of it, but the analogy was sales is like sex, that you can't learn it from a book. You kind of have to learn it from doing it. And I mean, you could read all of the books in the world about technique, but it's sometimes the most effective thing is to take some kind of action and practice. Yeah. So maybe using Martin's technique.
Definitely.
I will
let you know how it goes, Martin.
I have a friend, his name is David Nagel. Some of you may know him, who's an incredible coach around money mindset. And one of the things he gets people to do is go out into the street and ask strangers for money without an exchange. So like, hi, can I have $20? Like, so imagine, but as a way of practicing, because, you know, when you're selling something, there's an exchange. They're paying you for a service or an outcome. If you have an ounce of courage to ask someone for something without an exchange, it makes it easier when you're actually giving them something, some kind of transformation.
Yes. Yes. I will certainly try it.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Renata, can I get you to unmute?
Hi, Gio and everyone.
Okay, so you shared your hand raiser and love letter in Campus, which is amazing. And first of all, I'm very fascinated by what the program is. It's like neuroplasticity through handwriting. What is it that the person actually wants? Like, and I'm sharing this with Renata, but it's really for all of you, because one of the common things that will come up is that you want to talk about the features of your program, what people get, and they won't care about that as much as they'll care about why they're getting the feature or what the outcome is, right? So in your case, you help people. It's like personal development by learning how to change your handwriting, which is very fascinating. But I don't know if changing handwriting is the thing they care about. There's a reason why they should or could change their handwriting that creates the outcome. And to me, that's where I like not focusing on the handwriting component itself, but focusing on them and why they want to, like what happens after they do it. What is the actual outcome that they want from their perspective? Unless you, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but do you have people reaching out to you saying, hey, I really want to change my handwriting?
No, handwriting is a way to change themselves and their lives. So what they get is you get something they want and they can't reach before they start changing, their brain neural pathways.
Right. So I would suggest not focusing on the handwriting component. This is what, like, we all want to talk about the solution. We all want to talk about our methodology. Well, but that's not what the person cares about. They care about what's in it for them. They care about the outcome that they want and what's blocking them from getting there. And then what you want to do is explain how your program gets them from where they are today to where they want to be in the future. So that's how I would tweak yours. And I think you asked, was there too much info? Try to get, literally try to edit out as much as you can, where every word counts, kind of thing. You don't have to give too much detail. Like, almost imagine it's on one page and that's it. And you only had 500 words to do the whole thing. What would you say that still gets the point across about them? Like 80% of this has to be about them. The program explains how they get from where they are to where they want to be.
Yeah.
And as for all of you, I mentioned this to a couple of you in my comments in the Campus, but an amazing technique, especially for the first line of the hand raiser and the first line of the love letter, is to say, I'm looking for 5, 7, whatever the number is. I'm looking for 5 people who want to go from this thing to this other thing. And if you want to use analogies, or think of it like a before and after. I want to help people who go from super stressed to completely peaceful. I want to help people go from this analogy or avatar to this other analogy or avatar. And you can literally paint the picture of the before and after in the first line. I'll continue, and especially in future calls, we'll be doing more of this stuff, like talking about the love letters and the hand raisers, because we're going to get to that place soon where you want to start sending them out. And in the meantime, share your samples, your drafts in Campus. I'll go in there and give you all feedback too. So thank you again for today. This has been such a fun session, awesome conversation, and see you all next week.